Live. Welcome to WMMA Fighters. I have Brittany Nieman on with me. How you doing, Brittany?
Good, how are you?
Doing good. Thanks for being on here.
Thanks for having me.
Oh yeah, definitely. So Gary reached out to me and said he had a few fighters, and we got in touch and got this set up. So I appreciate you getting this scheduled.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
Yeah. So I don't remember. Do you have a fight coming up, or you just had one?
Nope, I had one in June. I actually have a jujitsu tournament next Saturday
Okay.
coming up.
Nice. All right. Now, so if you would, I'd just like to kind of get an idea of the background and everything and what got you to where you are today and kind of what your goals
Okay.
are with the sport. So yeah, if you wouldn't care, just kind of walk us through it, where you began and how you got to where you are today.
Okay. So yeah, my dad was or is a black belt in Taekwondo, and so I traveled with him throughout his entire training and his tournaments and practices. So that right there is kind of what planted the fighter in me, is watching him and kind of following him in his footsteps. And so I had always wanted to box. And then MMA came out, and I said, "Wow, you can use more than just your hands. You can kick, you can take down. It's a lot rougher." And I've always kind of had that rough spirit in me, and like the more physical combat sports. So my husband and I decided that we wanted to find an MMA gym, and that was around the time that our oldest daughter, we have two daughters, was one. So that was about 3 years ago. So we decided, to look around, and we found the gym where we're at now, which is Next Level Combat in Woodbury. And we started training there. In jiu-jitsu, I'd never trained in jiu-jitsu before. The only training I had was like when I was like probably 5 or 6. I did Kimpo for a little bit. So I only have a white belt in that. I don't even really remember what I was taught. And then obviously my dad taught me a lot of Taekwondo stuff. So I kind of had that. But I'd never done any ground game. And we
Hmm.
also started training Muay Thai at Next Level. And I wanted to fight. But first, obviously, you want to have some training. You don't want to just get in the cage. So I trained for about a year, and I took my first fight, which is at um, it was in, where was that? La Crescent, Minnesota, at Three Rivers Throwdown against Jesse Bolton. And so that was my first fight. And then I had my second fight in June, which was at Mystic Lake Casino against Amanda
Hmm.
Byers. So right now I'm in school actually to be a chaplain. I'm in seminary.
Hmm.
So I've taken a little bit of time off to kind of ease into that. I had just finished my bachelor's in Christian ministries. And so I knew the workload was going to step up once I went into my master's. So I wanted to make sure I had time to train. So I kind of just eased into seminary right now, but I do plan on taking a fight next year, sometime in the spring.
Okay. Well, that's great to hear. So you've definitely been around it
Yeah,
pretty much your whole life.
yeah, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that's interesting. Now, did you compete or do any other sports through school or growing up?
Yeah, I did. I did track and basketball. I did 1 or 2 years, I think it might have been just 1 year, of soccer. No, it was 2 years. I did 2 years of soccer in like elementary school, but then it got to a point where I had to choose between track and soccer, and I really loved track. So I ended up just doing track, and then once I hit high school, I did basketball. I'd always wanted to play football.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up missing one opportunity 1 year in junior high to be able to sign up, so then I ended up not doing it. And once I got to high school, they wouldn't let girls play. They wouldn't say that. I don't think they were actually allowed to say that they couldn't let girls play, but you could tell they kind of shied away from it. So I never got to play football, but I wanted to play football.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I kind of hear you. We had um, a couple females in my school as well that wanted to play, but never did. And I think there was a lot behind that, which is kind of
Right.
stupid, you know.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool. So, it's really cool being around it. growing up and seeing it. So how's it feel to be, is it kind of surreal still to actually be competing in it after seeing it and experiencing it for so long?
Um, I think where my shock comes in is because it's like I watched my dad do taekwondo, which obviously it's not as vicious as cage fighting.
Right.
It still takes a lot of hard work and everything. So I still am shocked that I go in there and, even when I'm watching the UFC, I'm like, I can't believe I actually do that. And I actually enjoy it. You know what I mean? Like it's definitely is crazy that I'm actually doing that. For a little bit, but at the same time, it doesn't surprise me because I've always had that aggression.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think some people need to remember that it is a sport. It's not.
Right.
Yeah, it's not just some, like barbaric gladiatorial kind of thing. But
right.
yeah, it is
right.
very interesting because, it's a one-on-one competition. And,
exactly.
So that makes it kind of a little intense. But for the most part,
right.
I think that, it's just a show of, pure power against pure power of some way,
right.
shape, or form. And it's really unique in that aspect of it. So what do you like most about it? I mean, what always appealed to you about combat sports?
Honestly, the roughness and the contact of it. I love it. It sounds so violent, especially being wanting to be a chaplain, but like the enjoyment of hitting somebody and not holding back in a controlled environment, I should say. It's a joy for some reason. I just love that roughness, being able to fully contact somebody with your power, or if you take them down and being able to submit. It's like you are purely being able to use what you've been trained to do and go all out. There's no holding back, and it's like you said, it's very one-on-one, and I just enjoy that physical contact. Even like for jiu-jitsu, I never thought I would like jiu-jitsu the way I do. Like, I was always a striker, and I still have a heart for striking more than I do jiu-jitsu, but I believe I'm a better jiu-jitsu artist, and I think it comes from being able to be more, obviously when you're practicing, you don't go fully 100% all the time with your partners in striking, because you can knock each other out, and there's more risk than there is in jiu-jitsu. You can go harder and not risk as much. And I think that's why I've enjoyed jiu-jitsu so much, is because I don't have to hold back the way I do in sparring, or the way I feel like I do, So it's just that physicalness and being able to allow yourself to be aggressive, but in a controlled way. It's not, like you said, it's not just some crazy barbaric. You're trained to channel that aggression in a controlled way, and I really like that.
Yeah, that's very well said, and I mean that pretty much hits it right on the head. And that key word in there, controlled, I think that's huge.
Right.
But yeah, it's not like you're running around to bars and going Steven Seagal on people for no reason,
Right.
So,
exactly.
Yeah, that would be a little different. Now, as far as this jiu-jitsu, are you more? Is that where you have the most fun when you're training, or are you more of a striker?
I would say I am more of a striker, but I believe that I think I'm more talented in jiu-jitsu, if that makes more sense.
Yeah.
I feel like I have way more tools in jiu-jitsu that I've developed compared to striking. But I am definitely a striker at heart.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, and all fights start on the feet, so it's definitely a good mindset to have.
Right.
Now, as far as
I'll say I get more enjoyment out of hitting somebody than choking them.
Yeah, hey.
So
you know what? Honestly, I think if it were the other way around, then just the way society is, it's like, okay, so would you rather hit someone or choke someone? Well, I'd rather hit them.
Right.
I think that makes you sound a little less crazy if you had to choose between the two. It's not like something like you'd put on a dating profile.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I prefer to hit people before choking them.
Right, yeah.
It's like, all right, I got to match up with this person.
Right.
Yeah, so as far as this, where's this jiu-jitsu tournament at?
This will be in Hudson, Wisconsin. So I live in Eagan, Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
So that's about, 45 minutes to an hour away. So it's not a terrible
No, that's not
distance
bad.
away.
That's not
It's
bad
like
at all.
Hudson's like right across the border of Minnesota.
Okay. And have you competed at this event before or
Yes.
similar? Okay.
Yeah, it was actually the second place I had a jujitsu tournament. And what I love about here is it's kind of like a round robin. So you kind of, it's like a double elimination. So
Mm-hmm.
you do get two chances to try to stay in. The only thing I can say I don't like is it's a point system.
Okay.
And I personally like the submission only better simply because I walk around between like 108 and 112 right now.
Mm-hmm.
And there's never anybody in my weight class. I'm always giving up 20 to 30 pounds, which is pretty much the same as, where I train at too. There's nobody my size.
Right.
But in a point system, it allows them to stall more
Mm.
and use their weight to just sit on me. And it's kind of annoying.
That
It's
yeah.
like submit me and do something, you know what I mean? So, and I'm not saying all the opponents do that, but I do notice that sometimes if they know that I'm faster,
Mm-hmm.
they'll stall and use their weight to basically hold me down instead of trying to beat my speed and submit me.
Okay. Yeah.
So sometimes it's a little bit frustrating,
Yeah. Okay.
you know. And I do absolute anyway, so it's not like, I don't mind going against bigger people, but it'd be nice to have, a few people between 105 pounds, 115 pounds, and
Right.
then go to absolute, and then go against somebody who's 160. Then it's like, okay, so it's like I'm doing 2 rounds of absolute, 2 divisions of absolute
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. So it can be a little bit frustrating, but I do like the fact that it's double elimination.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. Yeah. That is in that kind of format. I could see how that would be a very legitimate yet frustrating strategy
Right.
to be used against you. So
Right.
when you when you do these tournaments, I mean, are these? Do you look at these like? I'm trying to figure out a way to word this because so I would assume MMA is the main focus.
Right.
So do you look at these tournaments as competition experience, or are you trying to go in there and just win these as
Wreck
well,
'em.
or what's that?
I said wreck them.
Yeah,
Go out
exactly.
there and wreck them. Um, I'm a very competitive person.
Mm-hmm.
So no matter what I compete in, I go in there to win everything.
Okay.
But that's where I'm actually trying to get better at, is I'm trying to overall look at it as experience, because I believe what happens more in MMA than any of the other competitions. I also do kickboxing
Okay.
in between, but I get so nervous about losing, and it's because I don't want to disappoint people, and I've been doing all this training and I want to make everybody proud, that I don't allow myself to have fun the way I do at practice. And when you have fun, you're able to be yourself, you're able to think through a lot of things. But when you're so nervous, you don't do what you've been trained, because you're so focused on losing, you know what I mean? And so I am trying to change my mindset going into all of these things, that yes, I want to win, but overall, everything I'm doing, whether it's competition in MMA or a jiu-jitsu tournament or kickboxing, it's all experience.
Right.
So I can relax a little bit better and have fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, my biggest enemy is my nerves.
Yeah, and I mean, you fielded that perfectly. I don't know if I came across the right way how I asked it.
No, you
But
did.
yeah, you definitely gave me what I was trying to find myself when I asked
No,
the question. But yeah, I mean, I think
I understood what you're saying.
yeah, and I think it is good, but it's fine to be competitive, but
Right.
keeping in your mind that hey, it's experience is
Right.
at least it's there, and I think that's important because
Right.
it's very valuable. You can train all day long, you can train nonstop,
Yeah.
but unless you're getting some sort of competition, you're only experiencing so much.
Right.
Right. Yeah. So
Right.
that's perfect. Now you seem very, very active. Is this in going to school and everything? Is this what you're doing full time, or are you juggling a job as well?
So I'm actually just going to school right now,
Mm-hmm.
and Um, we also have 2 daughters. So we have a 4-year-old named Niobe and a 2-year-old named Zamira. So I'm also juggling them. So right now my husband just works, but he goes to school also. He's going to school to be a chaplain, but he does online where I go in person.
Okay.
But it's a blessing. I only have to go once a week. So it's not like I have to juggle being at school multiple times a week. I train at Next Level about 2 to 3 times a week. And then I also weight train twice a week.
Okay.
So we're pretty busy. I mean, we're pretty busy, but it helps that my dad's retired, so he watches our kids, when we're doing a lot of it. And then like when my mom is available, she also watches them. So it helps having parents that live close and one being retired. So it helps, but I do still balance, my family, because for me, God comes first and then my family. And that's why chaplaincy is so important for me. And that's why I was like, I had to take time off. Because I kind of had a little bit of a spiritual awakening my last camp. Like my camp was my world, and I was starting to feel like it was taking over my life. And it kind of, made me, I don't like using the word depressed, but it was pushing me towards that way of feeling like, my family's not first anymore. God's not first anymore. Like this is first. So I realized during that camp that I have to be able to keep my priorities in the order that I want them to be. And as much as I love fighting and as much as I want to go far in it, it's not my number one thing. So I do try to make sure every, few months or so, or if I start to feel like, okay, this is becoming my number one, I will take like a week off and I just won't go to practice. I'll lift or something, but I will not go to practice, just to kind of remind myself this isn't number one. So.
Okay. Yeah, that's really interesting. That's quite all of it is a huge commitment. Everything you're doing right now is a huge commitment.
Right.
So it's pretty incredible that you're balancing all that, and with the children and the family and everything, it's not easy.
Right.
But
no, it's not.
Yeah. So what advice would you give to people who want to pursue the sport, especially any female athletes?
Right. I mean, I would first say, obviously find a camp that is going to be there for you. There's so many places out here that are just about having you as a student to pay to pay them. They don't really care about you as an individual. So find a school that is going to invest in you as a student. And then from there, I would say give yourself time to perfect your craft, and don't feel that you have to perfect everything. If you feel like you're a striker, perfect that, but make sure you go in with some tools on the ground. If you feel like you're a ground fighter, perfect that, but go in there with some striking tools also, and just be prepared for anything. But make sure you give your time, I would say a year, at least train in both, specifying in one, or specializing in one for at least a year, and then go out there and just get yourself a fight. Go out there and try it, The biggest thing is getting past the fear of trying it, and then also looking out for yourself with these promotions, because I would say my first fight, I feel like I was set up. The information about my fighter was not fully given to me. I was told that she was only a striker. But when they asked about me, I gave everything. I gave, how many tournaments I had been in, because I'm not afraid of that.
Right.
You can know all that about me, but you won't know how to fight me until you're in there with me. You know what I mean? Even if you watch tapes, you really don't know how the person fights until you get in there with them. So I feel I need to be honest, and they weren't honest with me. If you watch my first fight on YouTube, she was trying to take me down the whole time. So she knew some type of takedown. She knew some type of ground game. So I felt lied to. So, I mean, obviously you can't allow that to hold you back, because there's going to be some shady people out there. So I just say be prepared for everything. But the biggest thing is just trying to find some amateur promotion that will put you in there, that with somebody who at least has the same amount of fights as you, 0-0 or 1-0 or something like that, and just go out there and try it.
Right.
Just get past the fear of, am I ready for this? Just go do it, And once you get past it, you'll either find like, this is not for me, or you're going to be like, I'm ready to go in there next week,
Right.
So just get out there and try it.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair, and probably don't want to rush it, I mean,
right.
You could have just a natural knack for it, but there's something to be
Exactly.
said about going in there and fighting somebody that, you could be
Exactly.
great at it, but there's still something to it. And there's a
Right. Right.
lot of work that needs to be done. But that's really cool. I mean, that's unique and a really kind of fresh perspective on that question. So, it kind of makes you think a little bit.
Yeah.
And
That's
yeah,
just me going off my experience too. I feel like
yeah.
waiting a year helped me a lot.
Hmm.
And trust me, when you get out there, about 70% of what you train, especially for the first time, you are not going to be thinking about.
Right.
You are going to just be going off of, off your instincts and body, memory.
Mm.
So that's why I say if you give yourself a year, there's going to be a lot of stuff that your body has learned to naturally do that you're not going to have to think about. But if you train for like 3 months and that's all you've ever trained, a lot of that's going to go out the window because your nerves are going to take over. You know what I mean? Your
Hmm.
fight or flight's going to take over. I mean, I go back and watch my first fight and I'm like, my form was terrible. I came right at her. You know what I mean? But there was other things that I'm like, okay, that came naturally. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
normally I have to think about that. That came naturally. I would have never done that if I hadn't been training that. So unless, I mean, there's some people that control their nerves way better.
Hmm.
I know I didn't my first kickboxing match before my MMA. I did not control my nerves. I went out there like a rooster fighting. Just went at it, So, and that's why I think if you have to take that first fight to see where you're at. So,
Okay.
but yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that's really good advice, and just kind of keep an open mind up to that point
Right.
and after that point, because I don't think a win or a loss should be what determines,
Right.
if you keep going or not.
Right. And then if I could recommend one more thing
Hmm.
is doing a jiu-jitsu match and doing a kickboxing match before you do a MMA where you have to blend them. Go
Hmm.
out there and see what it feels like to be hit by somebody who's really trying to hurt you. Go out there and roll with somebody who's really trying to submit you compared to your partners. Split
Hmm.
them up and do it that way because I think it warms you up, and I'm glad I did it that way because it definitely warms you up to have to mix both of them. Because it's a
Well,
whole different world when you have to mix both of them.
yeah,
So
definitely. That's definitely. I think that's genius advice for people to take to heart, because that could make all the difference in the world.
yeah,
Yeah, that's huge. So you've definitely got, I think, a lot of experience, and I don't mean that by just numbers of fighting, but when you go out there and you expose yourself to things, that's when you get
right.
experience, and you're definitely up
Yeah.
there. So do you? I mean, I hate to ask this question, but you seem like the kind of person that's incredibly, because it's kind of depressing, that's incredibly prepared. So what do you see yourself doing, or what are your goals in MMA, and then what do you think you'll be doing after fighting? Do you think you'll be coaching, training, or will you be just walking away from it?
So my goals in fighting, I'll be honest, chaplaincy is my main focus. So if
Hmm.
I can fight while I'm a chaplain and make it to the UFC and be the first chaplain in the UFC, I will do it. And I understand that it might take me longer being that I'm not making fight my world. I think it's easier for people who don't have kids, they're not really going to school, and fighting is literally what they live and breathe. They'll make it a lot quicker. It makes more sense. They're putting, you know what I mean? They're putting way more time than I am. So I don't see myself necessarily getting there as quickly, but I believe I do have the talent. I believe God has given me a natural athleticism that will help me in the areas of me not taking so much time to
Hmm.
train for that I will go far. And I would love to go far. I would love to be an atom weight champion in the UFC. Even if I was to, hold the belt for, I don't know, two or three fights, I would be proud of that, just to have made it that far. And so that's definitely a dream of mine. I would say after fighting, I don't see myself ever necessarily stopping.
Hmm.
I wouldn't say I will forever be, in the cage, but I can see jujitsu being something I'm doing in my 60s. You see older people doing that. I just naturally have that workout and competitive competing spirit that I can't see myself just stopping, you know what I mean? Like turning 40 and be like, oh, I'm hanging up the gloves. I'm hanging
Right.
up, I'm not going to do anything else. It's like, no, I don't think I'll be in the cage forever. Obviously you can, your body can't do something like that forever, but I see myself probably not kickboxing forever, but doing jujitsu. You don't really see 50-year-olds kickboxing, not very much, unless I'm doing like a taekwondo tournament, which I do plan on getting my black belt in taekwondo eventually, just to follow my dad's footsteps.
Mm-hmm.
And I love their kicks; they're so pretty.
Yeah.
But jujitsu, I definitely see myself doing that till God says, "Hey, your body ain't doing it no more."
Yeah, you're done. It's time to
So,
go.
yeah, I can't say I would never just fully hang it up. I see myself fully, doing jujitsu, and of course, any wisdom that I can pass on to somebody and they want to hear it from me, I would love to coach anybody, So, yeah, I hope that answers your question.
No, that was perfect.
But
and
yeah,
just talking to you, I mean, you would be like, I'd be like, wow, okay, I'm gonna listen to this coach, because it just, you portray yourself, I think, as a very strong person, physically and mentally, and that's a great thing, especially in the sport, and the way the world is nowadays. You have to be this way. It's survival sometimes, and I mean
yeah,
we're not talking like apocalypse stuff, but I mean like
right,
the world is crazy right now, and
yeah.
and I'm sure that like you said, your family means a lot to you. Now, do your kids really understand this, or how do they
Oh,
get
yeah.
excited about it?
Yeah, and just to address, like, the strength that you said, I have to give all credit to Christ for that. That
Mm-hmm.
my strength comes from my faith purely. I mean, that's where that comes from.
Yeah.
But my kids, yes, absolutely. We already have kind of looked at both of our daughters, and we know which one's going to be the striker and which one's going to be the jujitsu artist, just by how they like play with each other. If
Right.
we turn on a UFC match, they're like ready to fight. They already tackle us and try to put us in headlocks and swing at us and everything, like, playing around, obviously. So they definitely know. They slept through my first fight, but my second fight, they were there. They just weren't really paying attention from what I heard, but they do like it. I know my oldest daughter asked to come to practices quite a bit. So and I'm not going to be one that forces it on my kids. I would love for them, number one, to have it for self-defense. Second, if they want to compete, I'm there for them. But my dad never forced it on me. It was purely just me following him and looking up to him and wanting to do what he was doing. So I would love for my kids to want to do it. And I think right now they show a heart for wanting to do it. So I hope that stays.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely, that I think people who are fighting now, that MMA, in my opinion, is at a really interesting spot because it's really strong and powerful right now. But
Right.
I think a lot of people think I'm crazy, but I think in the next 5 to 10 years, you're going to see a passing of the torch from the UFC to another promotion being number one.
Yeah.
And I say that because just to me, the matchup is the most important thing. And
right.
These younger fighters, they're just itching to fight top fivers, top threes. They want to get in there and fight, and you're seeing some great matchups in One Championship, Bellator, Invicta, places like that. And things are changing, and it's great that your kids show that level of interest. I think that's really cool because the landscape will be totally different, but I think it'll be even better than it is now.
Right.
Because the understanding and acceptance is totally different nowadays. Even, 5 years ago, between now and 5 years ago is a huge difference. So, it's really cool. It's a great time to be in it. So, I don't want to keep you too much longer, but just want to ask one more question. What if you had to name a few keys to success or things that motivate you and push you and keep you going, what would they be?
Number one, I always say this is Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Just representing him in everything that I do. And to be able to be a fighter and also represent him while I'm doing that in my character and how I compete and how I win, how I lose. I feel like that is so important, especially with how, you see a lot of fighters' attitudes are, and feeling like you have to be this, tough person that talks smack about people and is rude and just the nasty characters that are out there.
Mm-hmm.
I want to show that you don't have to be that way to be a good fighter. Let your fighting speak for you. So that is my number one motivation. 2 would be my family, just, representing them and succeeding for them and seeing them smile when I win, and knowing how much they support me in what I do, that just drives me. And also just myself, just the enjoyment of it, inside of competing and going out there and doing it over and over again, and getting better at it all the time. That alone is enough motivation, to keep going, is knowing that I can get better. You can never learn everything in martial arts. You might learn every technique on the planet, but how to apply it and when do you use it, that comes with a lot of experience. It's more than just knowing the moves, it's how to use them and when to use them. So that, I don't know, it's just like a never-ending mat of learning. So that's what keeps me going. And I love staying in shape.
Yeah, well,
I love looking like I never had 2 kids. Like, that helps.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, thank you so much for your time. Really
Thank
enjoyed
you.
this conversation. I mean, you are very driven, and you're going to be very successful. And good luck at your jiu-jitsu tournament. And
thank you.
Yeah, let me know next time you're getting in there for MMA. I'd love to talk again.
Okay.
And definitely,
yeah, absolutely.
Any info you have, we can get it shared out and post it out there. So.
Okay. Yeah, I just would like to thank you and thank Gary, who's my manager, who's doing an awesome job. Sorry, of getting me sponsors and these interviews, and just
he's a great guy.
Can I thank a few sponsors if you don't mind?
Oh, go ahead. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'd like to thank Coach Shelton Harrison. He's a YouTube great platform for women. He's always doing videos and interviewing women, and he was the first person that ever interviewed me and actually got my name out there, so I have to thank him. And then also Keith Brown, who actually created my War Machine logo. So he's another one of my sponsors. I have to thank Punch Gunk, Bad Chicks MMA, and Fighter Alias. I hope I'm not missing anybody else. Gary's gotten so many for me lately that I don't even remember all of them.
That's awesome.
So I hope I'm not. Yeah, I hope I'm not missing anybody. I think that's all of them. But okay. I really appreciate you having me on here.
Oh no, this was great. Very very insightful. I loved it. So thank you for your time, and good luck. I mean, things are going to be great. And Gary's a great guy. It's been a pleasure talking with him. So, enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, that was Brittany Nieman. Tomorrow we have the Raging Panda on, Julia Avila, around 2 o'clock. And next week, got some more lined up, so we're keeping them coming. And that's it for today. I promise that was 2. Tomorrow will be on around 2 Eastern time, and I'll share what we have going on next week. Thanks for listening, and have a good day.